I joked that marrying him was my biggest regret. I couldn't stop him from leaving. I'm sitting at our kitchen table on a Tuesday night, idly scrolling through Instagram while Jason finishes the dishes. The soft clink of plates and the gentle hum of running water form a soothing backdrop to our evening routine. I'm 32, he's 36, and we've been married for 5 years. Do you want to watch something tonight? Jason asks, drying his hands on the dish towel hanging from our oven door handle. I glance up from my phone. Maybe. I've got that work thing to prepare for tomorrow, though. I look at my husband. Really look at him. Standing there in his faded University of Michigan t-shirt and the blue plaid pajama pants I got him last Christmas. His dark hair is starting to gray at the temples, and his reading glasses are perched on top of his head where he always forgets them. Nothing about him is particularly remarkable or exciting. He's just Jason. Dependable, steady Jason. I can help you prep if you want, he offers, sitting down across from me at our cherry wood table that we found at that quirky antique store in Beaufort during our 3rd anniversary trip. I thank God he's so predictable. Always the helpful husband. Always the nice guy. No, it's fine, I reply, my attention already back on my phone. I've got it. This is our life. Comfortable. Stable. Sometimes I wonder if it's enough. 3 days later, I'm standing in our friend Tara's expansive backyard in Hallandale. The evening air is warm but not stifling, typical for early May in Florida. Twinkling string lights are draped over the pergola, and the scent of grilled meats lingers from dinner. I'm holding my 3rd glass of Pinot Noir, or is it my 4th? I'm not entirely sure anymore. What I do know is that the wine has loosened something in me, something that's been wound tight for months, maybe years. So Vanessa, says Darren, Tara's husband, how's life treating you and Jason these days? We're standing in a circle. Darren, Tara, my coworker Patrice and her husband Kent, and a couple I've just met tonight, Eliza and Miguel. Jason has stepped away to help Tara's teenage son with something computer-related. I laugh a little too loudly. Oh, same old, same old. Jason's still Jason. What's that supposed to mean? Tara asks with a smile. I take another sip of wine and think, finally someone asking the real questions. It means, I say, louder than necessary, that sometimes I think marrying him was my biggest regret. The words hang in the air for a moment before I continue. Don't get me wrong. He's nice and all. But nice doesn't exactly set the world on fire, you know? I'm vaguely aware that the conversation around us has stopped. Patrice's eyes widen slightly, and Kent suddenly becomes very interested in his beer label. I mean, look at Miguel here. I gesture toward the man I've known for all of 2 hours. He was just telling us about scaling Mount Kilimanjaro last year. Jason's idea of adventure is trying a new flavor of LaCroix. A few uncomfortable chuckles ripple through the group. I don't notice that Jason has returned and is standing just behind me until Tara's eyes flick over my shoulder. I turn and see him standing there, absolutely still, his face a careful blank. Our eyes meet, and I see something shift in his, something closing off. Jason, I start, but I'm not sure what to say next. I'm heading home, he says quietly. You should stay and enjoy yourself. I'll call an Uber. I think, is he serious? It was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive, I say, rolling my eyes. I was just kidding around. But Jason is already walking back toward the house, his shoulders straight, his pace measured. Maybe you should go after him, Tara suggests gently. He'll be fine, I say, waving a dismissive hand. He always is. But as I watch him disappear into the house, something uncomfortable settles in my stomach that has nothing to do with the wine. I'm fumbling with my keys outside our front door at 11:43 p.m. The porch light is off, which is unusual. Jason always leaves it on for me. The ride home was quiet. Darren insisted on driving me despite my protests that I could get my own Uber. You sure you're okay? He had asked as he pulled up to our house. Of course, I'd replied. Jason will have calmed down by now. But as I finally get the door open and step into our dark entryway, I'm not so sure. The house feels different, emptier somehow. Jason? I call out, flipping on the light switch. No response. I kick off my heels, wincing as one of them knocks against the baseboard, and make my way to our bedroom. He's probably asleep, I tell myself, or pretending to be. But when I push open the bedroom door, I see him sitting on the edge of our bed, fully dressed, his hands clasped between his knees. Hey, I say, aiming for casual. Sorry about earlier. I was just joking around. Jason looks up at me, and I'm startled by the clarity in his eyes. No anger, just resolution. No, you weren't, he says simply. I drop my purse on the dresser with a little more force than necessary. Come on, Jason. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it is. Is that what I am to you? Your biggest regret? His voice is steady, not accusatory, which somehow makes it worse. I think, why is he being like this? It wasn't that serious. Of course not, I say, exasperated. It was just party talk. People say stuff they don't mean when they're drinking. In vino veritas, Jason says quietly. Oh my God, are you seriously quoting Latin at me right now? I laugh, but it sounds hollow even to my own ears. Look, I'm sorry if your feelings got hurt, but you're overreacting. Jason stands up then, and I notice for the first time that there's a small duffel bag beside him on the bed. What's that for? I ask, my pulse quickening despite myself. I'm going to stay at Evans for a few days, he says, referring to his brother who lives about 20 minutes away in Pembroke Pines. You're leaving? Over one stupid comment? It's not just tonight, Vanessa. It's everything. Tonight just made some things clear to me. I feel a flash of panic, quickly replaced by indignation. So you're just going to run away instead of talking about it like an adult? I've been trying to talk to you for months, he says, still in that unnervingly calm voice. You haven't been listening. He picks up the bag and moves toward the door. I step in front of him. This is ridiculous, I say. You can't just leave because I made one joke in front of our friends. Our friends, he repeats, as if testing the words. The same friends who heard you say I'm your biggest regret, that I'm boring, that I'm not enough for you. The same friends who watched you compare me unfavorably to a man you just met. When he puts it like that, it sounds worse than it was. They know I was just kidding around, I insist. Jason looks at me for a long moment. Did you see their faces, Vanessa? They didn't think it was funny. They were embarrassed for me, for us. I think, why is everyone being so dramatic about this? Fine, I say, throwing up my hands. Go to Evans if that's what you need to do. Take a time out, but don't expect me to beg you to come back. Something like disappointment flickers across his face, but it's gone so quickly I might have imagined it. He steps around me and walks to the door. I'll call you tomorrow, I say to his back. He pauses for just a moment, then continues down the hallway without a word. I'm lying in our bed alone the next morning, staring at the ceiling fan rotating lazily above me. My head throbs with the remnants of last night's wine, and my mouth tastes like I've been chewing on old pennies. I reach for my phone on the nightstand and check for messages. Nothing from Jason. I send a quick text. Hope you slept well at Evans. Let me know when you want to talk. I hit send and watch the message turn from blue to delivered. I wait a few minutes, but no reply comes, no indication that he's even read it. I think he's really going to make me grovel, isn't he? I drag myself out of bed and into the shower, letting the hot water cascade over me as I replay last night's events. Maybe I was a bit harsh, but Jason knows me. He knows my sense of humor. He should understand that I didn't mean anything by it. But as I towel off and catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror, I remember the look in his eyes when he heard what I said. Not anger, something worse, confirmation, as if I'd just proven something he'd long suspected. By noon, he still hasn't responded to my text. I try calling, but it goes straight to voicemail. Hey, it's Jason. Leave a message. It's me, I say after the beep. Look, I'm sorry about last night. Call me back, okay? 3 hours later, I'm sitting at our kitchen counter, alternating between checking my phone and trying to focus on work. No response from Jason. I call Tara. Have you heard from Jason? I ask as soon as she picks up. No, she says, her tone careful. Have you? He went to stay with his brother last night. He hasn't answered my texts or calls all day. There's a pause on the other end of the line. Vanessa, that was pretty rough last night. I feel a flare of defensiveness. It was just a joke, Tara. You know I didn't mean it. Another pause. Did you see his face when he heard you? It wasn't the face of someone hearing a joke. I think, not her too. So you're taking his side? I snap. There shouldn't be sides, Vanessa. You're married. Her voice is gentle but firm. Look, maybe give him some space, let him process, then really talk to him, and maybe listen this time. After we hang up, I sit in the stillness of our kitchen, truly alone for the first time in years. The house feels different without Jason's presence. Emptier, somehow, despite all my things still being here. I text him again. I really am sorry. Please call me when you're ready. The message shows as delivered, but no response comes. I'm in the break room at Palmetto Regional Hospital where I work as a patient care coordinator. It's been 3 days since Jason left, and I've hardly slept. He finally texted back yesterday, a brief, "I need some time to think," that told me nothing and everything all at once. "Trouble in paradise?" asks Leo, one of the ER nurses, as he pours himself coffee. I look up, startled. "What?" "You've been staring at that same yogurt container for like 5 minutes," he says, nodding at my untouched lunch. "Plus, no offense, but you look like hell." Thanks a lot, Leo. "Jason and I are just taking a break," I say, trying to make it sound casual. Leo raises an eyebrow but doesn't push. "Well, if you need to talk, I'm around." Later that afternoon, I'm at my desk when my phone buzzes. My heart leaps, but it's not Jason, it's Patrice from the party. "Lunch tomorrow?" her text reads. We meet at Banyan Bistro, a little place halfway between the hospital and the marketing firm where Patrice works. I'm picking at my Cobb salad while she watches me with concerned eyes. "He's still at his brother's," I tell her before she can ask. "Almost a week now." Patrice takes a sip of her iced tea. "Have you really talked to him yet?" "He barely responds to my texts," I say, stabbing a piece of chicken with more force than necessary. "How am I supposed to fix this if he won't even talk to me?" She puts down her glass carefully. "Vanessa, can I be honest with you?" I nod, bracing myself. "What you said at the party, it wasn't just that one comment. It was the way you talked about him all night. Even before that moment, you were dismissive, like you were bored of him or something." I open my mouth to protest, but she continues. "And it's not just that night. I've noticed it for a while now. The way you talk about him, the way you talk to him, like he's, I don't know, not enough for you somehow. I think that's not fair. That's not how it is. But isn't it? Haven't I been feeling exactly that? That steady, reliable Jason somehow wasn't enough? That I deserved something more exciting, more impressive?" "I didn't realize it was that obvious," I admit quietly. Patrice reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. "Look, we all go through phases in relationships, but Jason, he's a good guy, Vanessa. Really good. And he loves you so much. Anyone can see that." "I know," I whisper, and for the first time since he left, I feel the full weight of what I've done. I'm standing outside Evan's apartment door in Pembroke Pines, my heart hammering in my chest. It took 3 more days and several increasingly desperate messages before Jason finally agreed to meet with me. Not at our home, but here, neutral territory. I knock, and moments later the door swings open. Jason looks different. His hair is freshly cut, and he's wearing a button-down shirt I don't recognize. But it's his eyes that really throw me, clear, focused, and somehow more distant than I've ever seen them. "Come in," he says, stepping aside. Evan's apartment is tidy, but definitely a bachelor pad. Minimalist furniture, a massive TV, and not much in the way of decoration. No sign of Evan himself. "He's at work," Jason says, answering my unspoken question. "I wanted us to have privacy." We sit on opposite ends of Evan's black leather couch. The distance between us feels like miles. "I'm sorry," I start, the words I've rehearsed all morning already tumbling out. "What I said at the party was cruel and untrue. You're not my regret, Jason. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." He listens without interrupting, his expression unreadable. "I don't know why I said it," I continue. "I was drinking, yes, but that's no excuse. I think maybe I've been taking you for granted. Taking us for granted." Jason is quiet for a long moment after I finish. Then he says, "Do you remember what you said to me on our wedding day?" The question catches me off guard. "Of course, I promised to love and cherish you. You said I was your rock," he says. "You said you'd never felt so safe, so understood as you did with me." I swallow hard, tears threatening. "I meant it." "I believe you did," he says gently, "but somewhere along the way, safe became boring to you. Steadfast became predictable. The very things you loved about me became the things you resented." I think, he's right. When did that happen? "It doesn't have to be that way," I say, moving closer to him on the couch. "I can do better. We can work on this." Jason looks at me, really looks at me, for what feels like the first time in months. I've been doing a lot of thinking this past week about us, about me, and I realized something important. What? I ask, breath catching. I deserve better than being someone's regret, he says simply. Even if you didn't mean it, the fact that those words could come out of your mouth at all, it says something, Vanessa, about how you see me, about how you value our marriage. Jason, please, I start, but he holds up a hand. I'm not angry anymore, he says. I'm just clear. I deserve to be with someone who's proud to be with me, who doesn't make jokes at my expense to impress strangers, who sees my steadiness as a strength, not a shortcoming. The finality in his voice terrifies me. What are you saying? I think we need more than just a break, he says. I think we need to consider whether this marriage is really working for either of us. I feel like the floor has dropped out from under me. You want a divorce over one stupid comment? It's not just the comment, Vanessa. It's what it revealed about how you see me, about how you see us. I think this can't be happening. He can't actually be serious. You're overreacting, I say, desperation creeping into my voice. Everyone says things they don't mean sometimes. It doesn't have to define our entire relationship. Maybe not, he concedes. But your reaction afterward, the way you dismissed my feelings, the way you're dismissing them even now, that tells me everything I need to know. I stare at him, this man I've shared my life with for 5 years, and suddenly he seems like a stranger with a quiet dignity I somehow never fully appreciated until this moment. I still love you, I whisper, because it's true, despite everything. I know, he says, and the sadness in his voice breaks something inside me. But sometimes love isn't enough. I'm lying on my bed 2 weeks later, staring at the divorce papers Jason's lawyer sent over. The house is quiet, except for the occasional ping of my phone as friends check in. Word has gotten around, as it always does. I've lost 5 pounds since Jason left. Food doesn't taste like anything anymore. I move through my days like a ghost, going through the motions at work, coming home to an empty house that still holds all the echoes of our life together. My phone buzzes again. It's Tara. Drinks tonight? You shouldn't be alone. I think, what's the point? Everyone's probably talking about me anyway. But I agree because the alternative is another night alone with my thoughts. The Tipsy Pelican is busy for a Thursday night. I spot Tara at a high-top table near the back, already nursing something pink in a martini glass. She waves me over, her face a careful mask of sympathy. How are you holding up? She asks as I slide onto the stool across from her. About as well as you'd expect, I reply. Have you heard from him? She hesitates. He came by the house last weekend to pick up some boxes. Darren helped him load them into his car. What kind of boxes? Just stuff from your place, I think. Books, some of his records. I feel a stab of pain. He's really doing it. Really moving out. Really moving on. How did he seem? I ask, unable to help myself. Tara fiddles with her cocktail napkin. He seemed okay, calm, said he's looking at apartments closer to his office. I take a long sip of the vodka soda the bartender has placed in front of me. I really screwed up, didn't I? We all say things we regret, Tara offers, but there's something in her tone that tells me she thinks I got exactly what I deserved. Yeah, but most people's regrets don't end their marriages, I say bitterly. Tara looks at me for a long moment. Can I be brutally honest with you, Vanessa? Why not? Everyone else has been. What you said at our party, it wasn't just a one-time thing. It was just the first time Jason heard it directly. I freeze, glass halfway to my lips. What do you mean? You've been talking about Jason like that for months. To me, to Patrice, to anyone who would listen. How bored you were. How you sometimes wondered what life would be like if you'd married someone more exciting. I think, oh God, was I really that transparent? I didn't realize. I start, but the words die in my throat because deep down, I know she's right. The thing is, Tara continues more gently now, Jason is one of the good ones. Steady, loyal, kind. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many women would kill to have what you had? The past tense hits me like a physical blow. Had. What I had. I know that now, I whisper. Tara reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. For what it's worth, I'm really sorry it turned out this way. As we're leaving the bar later, I spot a familiar figure at a table near the window. Jason. He's not alone. There's a woman across from him, petite, dark-haired, laughing at something he's just said. The way he's looking at her, I've not seen that look in a long time. Maybe never. Tara follows my gaze and quickly steers me toward the door. "Come on," she says. "Let's go." "Who is she?" I ask, unable to tear my eyes away. "I don't know," Tara says, but there's something in her voice that makes me think she's lying. Outside in the cool night air, I lean against the brick wall of the bar, trying to steady my breathing. "She works at his office," Tara admits finally. "Lillian something. She's new." "How long has that been going on?" I demand. "It's not like that, Vanessa. At least I don't think it is. Darren says Jason mentioned grabbing coffee with her a few times, but that's all he knows. I think 2 weeks. It took him 2 weeks to start dating someone else. But even through my hurt and anger, a small voice in the back of my mind whispers, "Can you blame him? You've been checked out of this marriage for months. You just didn't have the courage to admit it, even to yourself." I'm standing in our bedroom, my bedroom now, surrounded by half-empty boxes and piles of clothes. It's been 6 weeks since the party, 4 weeks since Jason filed for divorce. The papers are signed. The house is going on the market next week. 18 years of mortgage payments in 5 years, all down the drain. My phone buzzes with a text from my mother. "Call me when you can, honey. Just checking in." I ignore it. I've been ignoring a lot of calls lately. The only person I want to hear from never calls anymore. I pick up a framed photo from our honeymoon in Belize. Jason and I on the beach, his arms around my waist, both of us sun-kissed and laughing. We look so young, so happy, so full of possibility. I think, was I ever that person? Did I ever deserve him? The doorbell rings, startling me from my reverie. I'm not expecting anyone. When I open the door, Jason is standing there, looking more handsome than I remember in jeans and a navy button-down that brings out the blue in his eyes. "Jason," I breathe, heart hammering. "Sorry to drop by unannounced," he says, his voice formal in a way that breaks my heart. "I got the last of the paperwork from the lawyer today. There's just a couple more signatures needed for the house sale." "Oh," I say, stepping aside to let him in. "Of course." He walks into what used to be our home with the careful steps of a visitor, not an owner. I follow him to the kitchen, where he places a manila envelope on the counter. "It's pretty straightforward," he says, not quite meeting my eyes. "Just sign where the tabs are, and the lawyer will handle the rest." I nod, not trusting myself to speak. He looks around the kitchen, taking in the boxes, the empty spaces where his things used to be. "How's the packing going?" "Slow," I admit, "but I'll be out before the closing date." "Where will you go?" he asks, and there's genuine concern in his voice that makes this whole situation even more unbearable. "I found a one-bedroom in Wynwood," I say. "It's small, but it'll do for now." He nods. An awkward silence stretches between us. "I heard you've been seeing someone," I blurt out before I can stop myself. Jason looks startled, then uncomfortable. "It's not serious," he says. "We've just gotten coffee a few times." "You don't owe me an explanation," I say quickly. "I know," he says, "but I wanted to give you one anyway." Another silence falls. There's so much I want to say, but the words stick in my throat. "I should go," he says finally. "Jason," I say as he turns to leave. "I really am sorry for everything." He looks at me for a long moment, his eyes softer than they've been in weeks. "I know you are, Vanessa. I believe that. Do you think, in another life, maybe we could have made it work?" I ask, hating how pathetic I sound, but needing to know. He considers this. "I don't know. Maybe if we'd been different people. Maybe if we'd both valued the same things. I think, if I'd valued you the way you deserve to be valued." "I hope she knows how lucky she is," I say, meaning it despite the pain. A small, sad smile touches his lips. "Goodbye, Vanessa." And then he's gone, the door closing softly behind him. I stand alone in our kitchen, my kitchen now, surrounded by the remnants of the life we built together. A life I carelessly threw away with a cruel joke and years of taking him for granted. My biggest regret isn't marrying Jason. It's losing him. It's not recognizing what I had until it was too late. It's watching him walk away and knowing with absolute certainty that he won't be back. Outside, I hear his car start up and pull away from the curb. I walk to the window and watch until his taillights disappear around the corner, taking with them the last pieces of the life I once thought wasn't enough. Now, standing alone in an empty house that will soon belong to strangers, I finally understand what enough really means. And I understand too late that I had it all along.